Welcome back, everyone. This is Thomas Triple T Ty with another new bullish crypto analysis. Let's dig in and check out Bitcoin's market update. Big surprise in the news this morning. The Commerce Department reported Thursday that the nation's gross domestic product, GDP, grew 5.7% last year, the biggest since 1984 when Reagan was president. But it wasn't consistent throughout the year. We had spurts of ups and downs. The biggest jump came in the last quarter, Q4, with 6.9% increase. Many speculate that the trend is not going to last due to the continued endemic or pandemic, if you will, that has some certain uncertainties and inflation pressures on the consumer demand and inventory rebuild. So we'll see. We'll see what that happens. I think the federal interest rate hike may have a bigger impact on this GDP growth than we may realize. The Ukraine crisis, latest update is U.S. rejects Russian demand to borrow Ukraine from NATO. So Ukraine is an interesting territory because it's it sits next to Russia and it separates the Russia from the West, Europe, and it's also a corridor where gas pipelines can flow through or commerce can flow through. So it's a very interesting territory. And if you remember, I think it was 2014, Crimea, Putin said, those little green men in Crimea wasn't his. And they turned out to be his. Like right now, he's saying that, those tens of thousands of troops on the border of Ukraine, they're not planning to invade. But I think you never know with this guy. I think he's outmaneuvered many leaders in the West, and he's continuing to do so. So basically, what does he want? I think he feels threatened that NATO is giving Ukraine the option to join NATO, and he feels threatened by that. Additionally, he's got this gas pipeline, an undersea pipeline that finally I believe is finished, that provides gas to Europe and especially Germany. And so he wants that pipe turned on, and that pipe could be a leverage point for the West to potentially use that as leverage for sanctions if he does invade Ukraine. So a lot of things happening there. Basically, blah 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 blah, and they're gonna go sit down and talk some more. That's basically what it is. I think Putin has longer plans for Ukraine than a lot of people think. Whether he invades Ukraine or not, that's up in the air, but it does impact the financial market with the news. Omicron is continuing to be in the news. What's interesting is that a study by the Imperial College in England has found that 99% of the COVID infections are Omicron, and only 1% is Delta variant. Additionally, what's a little bit troubling news is that 2/3 of the people with Omicron say they've had COVID before. That's concerning because it was previously thought that if you had a COVID infection, your body would build up immune system to prevent you from getting reinfected. That doesn't seem to be the case. The new BA.2 variant for Omicron is spreading at a 0.4%, and it's still under investigation. And it's spread out through, I think, what was it, 90 countries or so far, and it's spreading pretty fast. They'll monitor that and see what's going on with that. Something to keep in mind is China's Evergrande group. Their shares tanked today. Oh, actually yesterday, based on the time zone. More than likely, the U.S. signaling rising interest rate is going to put additional financial pressure on the Chinese real estate companies because a lot of their debt is borrowed from overseas, and raising interest rate could hamper their ability to borrow additional financing, and they're already heavily leveraged with debt. And Beijing's probably going to break up Evergrande to sell off its assets to pay off some of those debts, with the exception of probably two of their properties. I think their car division and another real estate division, just to stabilize the market. In the U.S., there is a bill that's going through. It's called the America Competes Act. And Jerry Britto of Coin Center, he's on Twitter. He sent out a tweet thread where he shared concerns about certain provisions in that act. Specifically, some of the proposed provisions could allow the Treasury to secretly prohibit any transaction deemed to have money laundering risk. And oftentimes, that's a very general and broad ability because, if banks go to them and say, hey, crypto could pose a lot of danger, blah, 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 because, crypto threatens bank, that they could use that to slow down or stop the growth of crypto. And that kind of unchecked power could ban many crypto development and transactions. And who would benefit from that? Banks and traditional finance. So, nice post there, Jerry Britto. The market, equities market, we got some greens today. Microsoft, Apple, Amazon, Google, Facebook, Disney, Netflix. It's a mixed bag here. Consumer defensive is mostly green. Healthcare is mostly green. Energy sector is some green spots there. We have credit services, mostly green there. Utilities, mostly green. Down here in other industrial, mostly green. So it's a mixed bag here. They had a better start in the morning, as well as Bitcoin, and then it dropped after a couple hours after opening. Part of the excitement in the early hours was due to the report about GDP growth from last year. So that got people excited, and then it just went down. Crypto market, the heat map from Coin Market Cap, it's predominantly red, although Bitcoin had like I mentioned, had a couple green candles early on, and then it tailed off. That covers the Bitcoin and crypto and macro news that may impact investors, at least the highlights. If you found that useful, go ahead and smash the like, ring my bell, and hit subscribe. I appreciate you being here, and I'll see you in the next video today.